I'm Geoff, a local realtor, aspiring actor, and transplant to the Springford area. And I'm on a mission to find the best that Springford has to offer. I'll be interviewing local business owners, civil servants, and other prominent members of the community to find out what makes Springford a great place to live, work, eat, and explore. I invite you to join me on my journey as I discover Springford.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Discover Springford. I'm here with Tom Donofrio of Donofrio's Handyman service. We met at Royersford Community Day, one of the many people I met on that day, and I'm excited to finally be sitting down as Donofrio's Handyman service is celebrating their 10-year anniversary in 2018, which is a very exciting thing, especially for someone who, as we were just discussing before we started filming the episode, he had no idea he was going to start his own business. So Tom, thanks for coming on the show.
You're welcome.
And why don't we dive right in? Tell me a little bit about your background, where you grew up, and how you got into. I mean, you can go as far back as you want, as much information as you want, and get us to today. Now that 10 years into it.
I was born in Norristown. I spent about 11 years of my life in Norristown, and my parents bought property in Limerick. 11 acres of ground.
Oh, wow.
Actually, back in like the mid-50s.
Oh, wow. So it's probably like
yeah, they got a pretty
farms,
good deal.
Right? Yeah.
I think it was like $2,400 or something like that for 11 acres, right? Well, anyway, grew up there, started Springford School District, 7th grade, graduated from Springford School District. I was actually even on a school board in the early 2000s. Okay. That excited me because I worked so hard to win an election.
Yeah.
You know. But
yeah, we've talked to a lot of politicians. Politician is a negative word anymore. But we've talked to the recently elected mayor last week. We talked to Joe Cerisi, who was on the school board and is now running for state representative. So he
came on board right when I got off.
Yeah, so I can imagine just from talking to them and Neil Dom also, president of Borough Council. So take me back a little bit about where we had left off. You were in Norristown, and then you came here. You graduated here.
Graduated here, and I was working apartment communities. I used to be a maintenance guy at apartment communities, and one thing led to another. I wanted to change, so I went into building supply sales at Builders Prime Window and Supply, and I was there for almost 14 years, and they were slowing down, and he was starting to lay people off. I was one of the people who got laid off, and I wasn't too happy about it, but I had to accept it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, now what? And I went through interview after interview after interview, and nothing was working. And finally, I'm like, okay, something's got to give. So a lady approached me at the church I go to, a Valley Forge Baptist in Collegeville, and she says, hey, she goes, I got a few little things for you to do if you want to do them. So I did. And I'm like, maybe I can get this to work. So at that point in time, I was collecting unemployment.
Right.
And I collected unemployment for about a year until I decided to actually, get into it. So when I started getting into doing job after job after job, and this was all small stuff.
Yeah, right.
Because I'm a small job specialist. Unemployment started sending me different letters, started questioning me, and they knew that I was starting my own business and stuff like that. Well, one day I got so fed up with them. I was on the phone with somebody, and nobody was home. I was home by myself, and I got so aggravated with this one lady. I said, you know something? You can forget about unemployment. Cancel it. And I hung up the phone. I'm like, what did I just do?
Oh, my God.
What did I just do? Chris is going to kill me, my wife, right? All right?
You just removed the safety. Yeah. That's what you did.
She came home. And this was in 2008.
Yeah.
She came home.
It's not a good time, right?
No,
for anybody's businesses.
And I said, Chris, I gotta sit down and talk to you. You did what? Right? And from that point on, I jumped in with both feet. Right. And at that time, my business was called Tom's Maintenance and Repair.
Yeah.
And I got some little tidbits to show you in a little bit, but. And I just started, one person, another person. I used to hang out at the Wawa in Royersford with a roofer.
Oh, really?
A local roofer, all right?
Yeah.
And we used to just hang out. Every once in a while, I would pass out my cars and my flyer, all right? And that started working.
Yeah.
And then I used to pull into different developments around here. and run off about 50 to 100 copies of my flyers and fold them in thirds and walk the beat.
Oh, wow.
And I wouldn't put them in mailbox because you're not allowed.
Yeah.
You can get in trouble.
Right.
So I walk right up to their front door, ring the doorbell, knock on the door.
Wow.
If they were home, I would introduce myself. If not, I would put them in. And that started helping me out.
Wow, that's great.
And then after that, I started Sacred Heart Church, their bulletins. I was starting to pay a publisher to put my little ad in the back. So that worked a little bit here and there. And, it just started snowballing.
Yeah, that's great.
And then the referrals started coming.
That's great.
But I'll tell you, I gotta go back to 2007 when I first got laid off. A friend of mine, Pete Callahan, I gotta mention his name because he moved out of here. He used to live 3 houses up from me here. And he lives near Philadelphia right now. He got remarried and everything. Well, he has a house up the mountains, way up near in Sullivan County. And he invited me up just to relax me and everything because he knew I was under a lot of stress and stuff, right? And he actually, that whole weekend, he helped me set up my flyer, my very first flyer. And he actually helped me. He got a 5-gallon bucket, all right? And he put, those tool pouches you put in a 5-gallon bucket and you put a bunch of tools in it. I still have it. I still use it. He gave me a bunch of tools to start off with. I mean, I had some tools, but, right? And I got to really thank him for it. And then a lady friend, before I even got involved with my business, Britt Gardner, I got to thank her, too, for really getting me started because I used to hang out with her, helping her out, gardening a little bit every once in a while. And she told me one time, she goes, Tom, give it 3 years. All right. I'm like, okay. I gave it 3 years. And in that 3 years, she bugged me 3 times to take over her business, her gardening business. And that was in Bluebell. Wow. She had about 8 or 10 customers in Bluebell Country Club. Wow. And I'm like, I don't know, Brett. Well, the third time, I said, I better say yes. So what I did, I helped her a couple times at Bluebell Country Club. And what it was, strictly flower bed maintenance, landscape maintenance. No grass, no lawns or anything, just taking care of their flower beds. And right off the bat, like it was overnight, like I had five or six customers, like overnight. And then it really started ballooning after that.
So the flower bed maintenance led to other jobs with those clients. Oh, okay. So it was kind of nice you found a way in, like they wouldn't have necessarily found you otherwise, except you were helping their flower beds. And you're like, oh, I know how to do this too, if you need anything.
Yeah, so she taught me a lot. Yeah. And a lady, Lillian Bechtel, one of the members of our church, I used to take care of her house and her flower beds a lot. Mm-hmm. And she taught me a lot about flower beds and, planting and, pruning and deadheading and stuff like that. So I slowly but surely I added that to my business. Yeah. Other than the maintenance and repair too. Yeah.
That's a nice little different niche too from the average handyman. They don't necessarily get into the beautification of the property. They just make sure things work. So that's a nice little not side hustle, but a
1/3 of my
avenue.
business right now.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah. So and that all started from
that's just Bluebell Country Club. 1/3 of my business.
Oh wow. Okay.
Okay. So
they can afford it at Bluebell Country Club, right?
I sat down. I have a great accountant. Yeah. He's kind of like near Plymouth Meeting. And Britt Gardner introduced me to this guy like almost 9 years ago. And he told me, he says, you're driving around too much. You're using too much gas and everything. You gotta go into these developments and park your truck and start establishing customers, right? Okay. Say, okay. I said, all right. Bluebell's established, right? Yeah. Okay. Now Linfield Country Club, that's been established the past 3 years.
Nice.
Okay. Now Willow Run development, it's a 55 and over development up off of Swamp Pike. Yeah. Right. Now that's starting to get established.
That's great.
A month ago, I did a preventative maintenance seminar for the people. I got invited by Gail Wellington, who owns 3 Peas in a Pod.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah. She says, hey Tom, she goes, how how would you like to do a talk on your business and stuff like that? And I'm like, you don't want me to teach you, because they're older folks and stuff like that, right?
I said, I got underneath the toilet.
Right.
Nothing like fixing the house.
I said, I got a class for you, man. I said, how about preventative maintenance?
Yeah.
To help them, show them how to save money and all this kind of stuff. And here the whole idea was she helped me attract business.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Right.
Right. And she knew that I loved doing this kind of stuff. So I actually, in 3 weeks now, I've actually got 3 clients there.
Wow.
Now, and
You've only been doing it for 3 weeks? The
about 3 weeks.
Class? Okay.
Yeah. The preventative maintenance class, one night. It was one night.
Wow.
And it was only supposed to be 20 to 25 people, she said. It was supposed to be there. There was about 40 people in that room.
Oh, wow.
It was after an association meeting.
Oh, that's nice.
My time was 7:45.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did they have cookies there to keep people there?
Yeah, only speak for an hour. It was about an hour and a half because I couldn't shut them up.
Yeah.
They were like asking questions like, I kept looking at Gail thinking that she was going to go like this, but I started going like this.
Yeah,
you want me to, it was hilarious.
That's
it really
incredible.
was,
Yeah.
man.
That's great. You had mentioned that before we started, actually, that you had used to teach in some capacity other classes like that. Do you want to talk a little bit about
before.
that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So this is you can take a drink. It's totally fine.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
Way before I even thought about business.
Yeah.
My business.
This is when you were still working with the other
At Builder's
yeah.
Prime. Actually, I was working at an old home center called Heckinger's in Norristown, part-time.
I remember.
I was in the plumbing department.
Heckinger's. Oh my gosh.
On right where Sears is.
Yeah,
hardware.
there used to be one in Feasterville. I
Yeah,
think.
something like that.
Heckinger's.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I remember. They converted it into the Brunswick zone.
Yeah.
A long time ago. I'm from that. I grew up in the Northeast, so I'm very familiar with that area around Northeast Philly.
So I worked there for a while, and I took a class. I took a carpentry class at the tech school. So my teacher, Bill Braun, he come up to me. And he says, hey, Tom, he says, you ought to create your own class. We need teachers here. I'm like, what, me? Right? And so I said, so I sat down myself and I started writing notes. Well, I put together an outline and I'm like, well, here, they go, well, my boss from the tech school, the night school, he says, you got to bring us in front of the board, the school board, right?
Wow.
Okay, I'm like, okay. So their school board meeting, I was on the agenda, right? And I go in there and I'm like, well, this is what I want to do, right? I'm telling them what to do. And I'm like, I love props, right? I like showing props. I move around a lot and all this kind of stuff, right? And, I left the room and somebody called me back in a room and they're all saying, great idea. When do you want to start?
Oh, wow.
Right? I'm like, okay. So I started, it was like a January, like the winter thing.
Yeah.
And at first it was a 72-hour course, 2 nights a week, 3 hours a night. So it's 6 hours a week for 12 weeks.
Wow.
Right?
That's big. That's a lot of time to fill, right?
Yeah, I have...
I was gonna say, if you're big on props and moving around a lot, you should get into theater.
Yeah.
they
Here's one of the Times Herald came in and did an article.
Oh wow, check that out. I'll make sure we get a close-up shot of this after we're done, so we can splice it in. That's incredible. What year was it? 2002. Wow.
Yeah. So, but I did one before this too.
Yeah.
I did my first one was 1989.
Oh wow.
And
okay.
then they started shrinking it because they were starting to get away from the adult education down there. So they started it back again, and they wanted me to come back. So that's why it's 2002. But I do have an article. I couldn't find it from back in 1989.
Oh wow.
Okay, so from 1989 up until in the 90s, it was like 13 total years that I taught at the tech school.
Oh wow, that's awesome. And which tech school was it?
Not Western Center. That's in Limerick.
Yeah.
The, North Montgomery County VOTEC on New Hope Street.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Yeah, I had lived in East Norriton for a very short time, and got pretty familiar with that area. So that's really cool. So you take me back. You had gotten laid off. You had some friends help you kind of plant the seed of you going on your own, which up to this point, had that ever been of interest to you, of being, your own business owner, an entrepreneur,
My father was a butcher, and he had his own butcher business for 30 years.
Wow.
Now, I used to help him out every once in a while. My brother used to help me out, but I was always the driver.
Yeah.
I used to love driving,
Yeah.
right? Delivering the stuff, making the boxes and wrapping the meats or whatever. But I never really thought, my own business.
Yeah.
Because of being at Builder's Prime for that long, almost 14 years, I thought I was set.
Right.
Then when I had gotten laid off and I was having trouble actually finding a job, I actually did get hired at Home Depot in Pottstown. I lasted 3 weeks.
Oh, really?
Well, I wasn't, being a cashier is not my cup of tea.
Yeah, right.
I want to sell windows, doors, roofing, siding. That's what I was supposed to do.
Right.
They had me behind a cash register. I'm like, you got to be kidding.
Wow. Yeah.
So,
they didn't take advantage of the 14 years you worked at the Prime.
So, but I started getting so frustrated with that, and like, okay, I got to do something, and that's why. And being in my own business, I thought it was actually going to be temporary.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my mindset. Temporary.
This will get me through this rough patch.
Yeah, making some extra money here and there, right?
It was like a side hustle for you while you were unemployed.
And then just started working, and I'm like, okay, and faith in God and all, man. It's crazy. I mean, even today, God helps me like every day. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah. That's cool.
what he's doing for me in my life, my business, and everything. So.
Yeah, and it's cool. It sounds like you have a great community around you as well. The fact that you've been established in this area for a while, your church community, that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm doing this. I mention it over and over again, so I apologize for people that have seen me say it. But like coming from outside of the area, wanting to really feel like an integral part and invest in the community, so that selfishly I can then have that support, that base around me, so that if I when things get difficult, I know there's people there that have gone through it together. I can reach out and say, hey, I'm really struggling here. Is there anything you can do? That's how we're intended to live, really. And we kind of we tend to isolate ourselves, unfortunately, as a society. But I find that the various relationships I've established by doing this show and everything, I hope, at least I hope that they'll be very long lasting.
Don't give up on it.
Yeah, for sure. So it's been really.
You got it. Listen, you got a really good thing going, and you've heard of people saying like a turning point.
Right.
Okay, it's another important factor in my life and my business. Turning points. Well, the one turning point was canceling the unemployment.
Yeah, that was a huge one. Yeah,
it was a huge one.
So go ahead.
The second turning point was the chamber used to have. We used to have a 5-chamber function at the Copperfield.
Oh, okay.
Up in Limerick.
Yeah.
Okay. 5 chambers. So probably 150, 200 people sometimes.
So it was Springford and where else?
Perk Valley.
Okay. Like all the surrounding.
I think Upper Perk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Phoenixville.
Yeah.
All right, but there were 5 chambers.
Wow. Yeah.
So it was like speed dating.
Yeah.
Because you only had like 2.5 hours, right? So you had a pocket full of cards. And one day I figured it out. Okay, not even 2 minutes per person if you wanted to do it right? So speed dating, right?
That's hilarious.
Yeah, speed networking.
Yeah, exactly right.
So the turning point was a lady came up to me, and I met her for 10 minutes, maybe not even. And I haven't seen her since. And that happened probably 5 years ago, okay? She comes up to me and she sees my tag, my name tag on my shirt, and it was hanging half off. I didn't even know it was hanging half off, right? And all she saw was maintenance.
Yeah.
Right? And she looked at me, she goes, aren't you Tom Donofrio? I'm like, yeah. She goes, aren't you a handyman? I'm like, yeah. She goes, why do you have the word maintenance on your tag? I'm like, maintenance or repair. She goes, do you clean? I'm like, no. Well, I did. I've cleaned some chandeliers, stuff like that, right? And I said, oh, maybe you got a point there. She goes, you ought to have that handyman name in your business. And I'm like, okay. So I thought about it. It took me about a week to really sink in. And I'm like, you got to be kidding. I got to go through all this red tape because I had just got, my Pennsylvania license, contractor's license, magnetic signs on my trucks, business cards, right?
Yeah.
Right? I don't know, about $300-400 worth of stuff, right? And I'm like, okay. So do you know, I took that leap of faith and I listened to the lady that I met for 10 minutes, right? That I haven't seen her since.
Oh my goodness.
Right? And I changed everything.
Wow.
And when I changed everything, my business just flew.
Wow.
The handyman.
That's
Donofrio's
amazing.
handyman service. I'm still in awe when I tell that story. I got chills right now. It's just crazy.
That is crazy.
The way that happened.
That was a divine appointment for sure. Like,
So about a year and a half ago, how can I explain this? January 1st will make 10 years. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I've always played it safe. Mm-hmm. Now, what do I mean by playing it safe? Okay, I've always stuck to things that I know that I can do. I know that I can repair, put together, whatever. Yeah. Okay. Occasionally, I would have the courage to, go out of my comfort zone. Yeah. I guess you would call it. Right. So and I was pretty successful with doing that stuff, but I just felt kind of weird. So I figured, let me stick to this stuff and there were certain things where I started eliminating. And I thought that I was going to lose by eliminating. Right. Like I canceled my roofing insurance on my contractor's insurance because I haven't cleaned a gutter in a while. Yeah. Right. And a lot of times I would climb the roof, or I would replace some shingles here and there and stuff like that. Right. Well, I'm saving over $250. On top of what I'm already paying. Right. Okay. So I'm like, because there was about a half a dozen customers every year for that. Yeah. And a couple other things. But, one thing led to another. I started doing that kind of thing. And that was kind of like a leap of faith, too, to do that kind of stuff. But
you become more specialized in what you do as opposed to just doing anything that'll get you a job kind of thing. You start to find more of a niche for your business, right? Which is scary because then you feel like you're knocking off potential business by saying, "Well, I don't really do that."
But I wasn't. Yeah, but I wasn't.
Yeah, that's good.
So about a year ago, I just got to add one more turning point as to where the church I go to, somebody approached me and says, "Hey, Bobby Goins, he's just getting over cancer. He had a bout for cancer, and he's not working right now, and he's starting to feel pretty good and stuff like that, health-wise and stuff like that. Why don't you talk to him?" I'm like, okay. So I met him, introduced myself, because I'm a greeter at church and everything. So I met him and I said, "Hey, Bobby, why don't you hang out with me? What are you doing next Wednesday?" He said, "Nothing." So he came down here and hopped in my truck, and I took him to Bluebell one day, right? And he hates gardening. Oh, okay. But that wasn't the point. The point was to feel him out. Yeah, right. All right, get to know one another and stuff like that. Well, that whole day was a very successful day. And I'm like, well, what do you know what to do? And he says, pretty much of anything. This guy is like a MacGyver, like you would believe. That's another thing that laid right on my lap, man. Wow. So for the past year and a half, he was just with me today. And we get involved with some complicated stuff that we just kind of like scratch our heads and look at one another. And we're like, I think we can do that. Yeah. And he's another one that God-given gift that he's helped me out. We've helped both of them out. We work together very well. And they're the three turning points.
Yeah, man, that's huge. I mean, those three are incredible because they all require a lot of faith. That's for sure. Because whether it's cutting off your safety net, the unemployment, changing your name, working with somebody you've never met before, or that working with people in general, especially when you're self-employed, you're like, well, like. The whole reason I'm doing this by myself is because I don't want to have to, help people, or I don't want to have to run things by other people. You know what I mean? You want to make the final decision.
I remember hiring a guy for a season. He was a few years older than me, I gave him instruction. Look, he was the cleanup guy. I would do the pruning and deadhead and everything. He would be the raking and bagging and stuff like that. And once I got done, I would help him finish up and stuff like that. That was the plan every day, right? Yeah. So I had him go on one side of the house while I was on the other. And I told him exactly what to do. So about an hour later, I go back there. He's trimming the rose bushes. Oh my God. I'm like, ah. I wasn't laughing then like I'm laughing now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, but, I didn't scream at him like,
Yeah.
Barkley, I'm like, listen, I said, I didn't tell you to do the rose bush, did I? He said, no. He said, but I thought it needed it. That's what he told me, right? I was like, did you ever do this before? He said, kinda. I'm like, thank God you didn't ruin them.
Oh, yeah.
So I got out my little pruners and I straightened them out and everything. Because really, I probably would have lost that customer.
Right.
And they all know one another.
Right.
Right?
Oh, sure.
So, I've had situations.
That was an almost turning point, but that was not a good one, right?
No, and then another guy had help him working with me, my ex-boss who owned Builders Prime, Russ. He lives in Ballackinwood.
Okay.
We went down here and he used to help me do a lot of stuff outside, inside, or whatever. So I had to climb up on a roof one day to do some stuff on a roof, clean his gutters, fix his roof, or whatever it was, right? And I forgot a couple tools. And I was already up on a ladder. I didn't feel like going down a ladder. And I said, Mike, go into my truck. I'll tell you exactly where it was. Go get the tool. 5 minutes goes by. 10 minutes goes by. I'm screaming. I'm like, where are you? He wasn't answering, right?
No.
All right, so I hopped down a ladder. I almost fell down a ladder because I was getting worried, right? Here's my tailgate of my truck. He's like this.
Oh my gosh.
With his eyes shut, just leaning there. I run over there, man, and I'm smacking him like, what's going on? What's going on? And I got him out of it. And here I found out that I forget what medicine that he had to take every day, but he was supposed to take it with food. He didn't take it with food that day.
Oh, man.
I'm like, why'd you do that? Well, Lankenau Hospital was only about maybe 15, 20 minutes away, and I wanted to take him down there. But he says, you have a banana? And I had a banana in my lunchbox, right? And I gave him the banana, and he snapped out of it like that.
Wow.
But I stopped everything anyway.
Yeah.
I took him home, and I was like...
You never know what you're going to experience on a job. Like that's not even something that is necessarily about the job that you're doing. It's about the people, but yeah.
So they're just a couple of examples. But I mostly work alone.
Right.
Bobby works with me maybe a couple times a week now, but most of the time I'm by myself.
Yeah, and just tell us a little bit about like some of the things you specialize in that you would probably make up 75% of what you do on a regular basis.
Well, the flower bed maintenance I was telling you about, tub and shower caulking. I am an excellent caulk. Let me tell you, right? And I can, another guy, Ed Popchak, he used to be my boss when I used to work at apartment communities, right? Up in Doylestown.
I'm sure you had to do a lot of tub and shower stuff there, right?
That's what I learned, right? Well, he taught me good, and I still do his technique, and it works. And my caulk jobs last a long time.
That's great.
So that's one of the things. I do drywall repair. Hardly any ceilings anymore because I have trouble with my neck leaning over like that and stuff like that. So if it's walls and stuff like that, I'll do that. Minor carpentry like chair molding, baseboard, things of that nature. But ceiling fans, any kind of other light fixtures, receptacles, GFI receptacles, light switches. This time of year, weatherproofing, doors and windows, especially doors.
Yeah.
Bobby helped me do about 3 or 4 of them the past couple of weeks. And we got to take the door off the hinges, put the new sweep on, the new gaskets around the top and the sides. Things
it's amazing when you don't realize how important that is, and then you go to you stand by a door that's not properly weatherproofed, and you're like, "Oh, that's a draft coming in there." It's amazing.
Today we got involved with shelving in a garage, the hanging shelving, all angle iron stuff, and you have to find the studs and mark it up. That was probably more than half the battle just doing that. Yeah. So there's a lot of thinking with that kind of thing. Yeah. Mailboxes, we get into a lot of mailbox posts and mailboxes.
Stuff that like
flag poles. We've done flag poles.
It's a lot of stuff that people don't necessarily think of right away, and then they get to face the challenge and like, I don't know how to do this. They call you, I guess. Like
faucets, toilets, like toilets. It cracks me up when I explain. Like somebody will call me up and say, I'm having trouble with my toilet, it's running or whatever. And I'm like, is it flushing by itself? Well, what do you mean by that? The flapper, or whatever kind of flapper it is, that when you flush the toilet, the flapper comes up. Well, if that's worn out, it creates like a tiny gap. And by the water pressure, the air pressure, or whatever, it lifts it up a little bit, just enough time to flush it a little bit, and then it goes down, right? That loses, you can lose a lot of water with that. And the fill valve, the flush valve, the flapper, sometimes we have to take the tank off the bowl. Sometimes we have to replace the whole toilet. Getting involved with soldering, like the hose bibs outside. I see a lot of that where people don't turn their hose bibs off during the winter time, right? And the water lays in there and freezes and then cracks the pipe. When they turn it on in the springtime, it floods the city, right? So I do a lot of the soldering. A lot of people call me up for furniture assembly. People call me up to hang tapestries, mirrors, pictures, family pictures, things of that nature.
Okay. Yeah, that's a lot of different things for sure.
Yeah, so I got it when I'm doing it, you got to center everything. Like a piece of furniture there, you got to center that perfectly and stuff like that. And they got it, like how high do you want it and stuff. You don't just hang it, you got to, what do you want?
Yeah. You're at their beck and call, or you're at their whim. Like if they were like, a little bit higher, you're like, all right, my arms are getting a little tired, but can you make a decision, please?
One of my mottos is I'll help people in any way I can. My main motto is I maintain what's working and repair what's broken. Okay. Now, if you think about that, right? I tell people, think about it for a minute. Maintaining what's working. What's that mean? It means preventative maintenance. Right. Okay. Repairing what's broken. Whatever's broken around your house, call Donofrio's Handyman service.
That's great.
So,
is there any other, before, as we wrap up, is there any other parts of the story that you want to, I want to give you opportunity to explain or, share whatever you feel like you wanted to share.
I still work on personally. I'll tell you personally, I still pray a lot about courage.
Yeah.
I don't know what the problem is, but 10 years into it, I'm still praying about courage.
Yeah.
Figure that one out, right? Yeah. It's not for me to figure out,
sure.
But I wake up in the morning and sometimes it's hard to get motivated. I'm still trying to figure that one out too. But I fill my appointment book up, like if I'm running late for an appointment, okay, I call.
Yeah.
Okay, I call a day or two before the job.
Right.
That's the way you have to be. You just don't show up because the person's not going to be there.
Yeah.
Maybe they forgot.
Right.
Right. And then if you travel a half hour, you know why? Because I've done it.
Yeah, you learned it from experience.
I've learned,
right.
Yeah. So that's a key. You got to learn from your experience. But get help in any way you can. I mean, back away from something. Like if I'm having trouble with something, or if I'm getting frustrated with something. Right now, Bobby's here. If I'm by myself, I'm saying I'll step back and I'll call my wife, and she'll talk to me for about a minute or two, and she'll say, "Step back, go eat something, relax, and go back to it." Yeah, and that always works.
See it with fresh eyes. Yeah, you see the problem with fresh eyes. That's a great thing to remember for across everything, whether it's repairing something or facing a big decision or whatever it may be. So,
but one other thing, this is a big thing.
Yeah,
and I know there's a lot of testimonials going on social media and everything. Right. Well, I bring this into new customers every once in a while, and while I'm doing something, I'll have them page through, and these are testimonials for the past 9 years now or so.
Oh, wow.
Of people that just like my work and
That's awesome that you keep it like that, because I feel like there's something about people holding it in their hands, seeing it for themselves in the handwriting of the people. Wet ink in a lot of cases. That's really impressive that you've been doing that.
You recognize this name, Earl Reese?
Yeah.
Okay. His wife's one of my clients.
Oh, really?
I've had she's been my client since 2012.
Oh, wow.
and she's Bluebell Country
Yeah.
Club, right? So I get to see Merle, pretty much. If I'm there early in the morning, as he's leaving for work, or if I'm there late in the afternoon when he comes home. And real quick story about them.
Sure.
Cindy had me go down their basement one day, and Merle has had a Donovan McNabb jersey from Syracuse.
Oh, okay.
Framed.
Yeah.
Right? And she wanted me to hang it at a certain spot, so I went down there and did it. So I was down there, I was just glancing around, and it was a complete drum set on the other side of the basement.
Yeah.
Now, I know they have a son and a daughter.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe a son, because the daughter's an artist.
Yeah.
Right? So Merle came down, right?
Yeah.
My heart's like beating my mouth. I'm like, why am I like this? He's human too, right? Okay. And we were talking. I said, Merle, I got to tell you. I says, your son played the drums. He said, no. He says, that's mine. He said, I played the drums. So yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't know
I couldn't
that.
get over that.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
A man of multi-talents.
I got to pinch myself sometimes. It's like, okay. So I have some clients. I have, pharmaceutical clients, and obviously Merle, who I just talked about, and a few others that are pretty high up there and stuff like that. So you got to stay on your toes.
If you hadn't that first person who wanted you to take over their you never would have done it. Yeah,
right.
I mean that's an incredible story. Sometimes you do have to take that leap of something that you're not quite sure about. You never know. 10 years later, you can look back and be like, "Wow, look at the journey as we've gotten this far. It's pretty impressive."
Yeah, this was my very first. Brick Gardner helped me make this letter flyer type thing.
Oh wow!
Right?
Yeah.
And I folded. I don't know. I probably sent a couple hundred of them out.
Wow.
And then I went like every 6 months to a year, I change and I save each one that I change. This is my newest one where it says that I'm Google verified now.
Yeah.
That helps big time.
For sure.
And obviously I'm on Facebook.
Yeah. But that's usually what I do at the end of every episode is allow people to share how they can get in touch with the businesses, how they can stay and follow along with and look up, the history. So why don't you let people know how they can find you on Facebook and your website is? And all that stuff.
On Facebook, you can go right on my regular Facebook page, Thomas Donofrio, or you can go on Donofrio's Handyman Service on Facebook, and you'll see a ton of pictures, before and after pictures, different descriptions. You'll also see some testimonials on there too. Some people will go on there.
Right.
Google. You can Google me, Donofrio's Handyman Service, and you'll see me in there. And there's also pretty much the same information on Google.
Yeah, it's one of the things I find funny about all these social media platforms is most of the information there is all the same. So it's funny that we have all these different ones, but to each, you got to find out people where they are.
And Springford Chamber of Commerce, obviously. April and Carla, they helped me tremendously. They put a lot of information on the site there, and it's pretty much all the same, on each site. Sure. I try to keep it uniform,
right?
But I gotta talk about, like, just for maybe a minute, for Springford Chamber of Commerce, how they actually helped me out. Getting involved with the chamber, being plugged in with all the other business people. That helps a lot. It's like electricity going through your body when you're hanging around with other.
Oh, totally. I feel it right now. So that's good.
Yeah. So tomorrow night, it's 5:15 and 7:15. We're having a mixer. That's what they call it, a function, chamber function. Okay. There's a financial place at the shopping center on 70 Buckwalder Road.
Okay. Limerick Square, right?
Yeah. So we're having a function there.
Okay.
But a few times a month, we have different functions at different businesses and stuff like that. And that's basically where you could, meet a lot of other people and stuff like that. Great. But they've helped me out tremendously. There's certain people in that organization that's really, really helped me out. And just one other thing. Sure. Every January we have a start up our annual luncheon. So this past January we had a luncheon, and I'm sitting there and they were giving out awards. I didn't even know this was coming. Yeah. They gave me Springford Chamber of Commerce Volunteer of the Year Award, honorable mention.
Oh, that's awesome.
I couldn't get over that.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah,
I'm really proud of that one.
That's good.
So
No, that's nice, and they put it in a nice
Yeah,
little setup for you there.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
there,
that's
too.
great. Yeah, definitely, a great way to get involved in your community with the Chamber of Commerce, and it's great to give back, but then also, they recognize what you're doing to give back, and that's really cool. So you have every right to be proud of that. That's great. All right, well, Tom, thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
being on the show.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, for
really.
sure. I'd like to keep going as always, but
Oh, yeah, I know.
unfortunately, I could go every episode.
I could
would
go
be like
another
50.
couple
Yeah,
hours.
that's right. So, well, one of the things that God willing, there'll be a season 2 and everything.
Right.
It'll be cool to see how far we go, and if comes a time where we revisit some of the guests and see where where they are since the last time we saw them, then and now kind of thing. So we'll see if we can get to that point.
Hey, I will definitely. Since you and I spoke since then, we first met, I've been talking you up too. So.
Thank you, I appreciate that. But yeah, definitely all the links to Tom's business will be below the video, and please click out to those. Show the support of the local businesses in the Springford area. Tom, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure talking to you. Stay tuned. We got another few episodes before the end of the season. We're really excited about it. Until next time, get out there and discover what makes the Springford area a great place to live, work, eat, and explore.